you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Training going well. We were last week talking about the Uridu Marathon, and I'm hitting my halfway point now.
She is. She's doing really good. Everyone listening should totally listen to me on
this
this
is why
one.
I invite Lindsay here. She just inflates my ego and makes me feel good.
That's just exactly what I'm here for. No, in all seriousness, Laura has come a long way from the first time I met her. She's doing really well. And like you said, you're at the halfway point now of your training.
Yeah.
Not long to go. And for those who listened last week, obviously we discussed it now in January 10th. There's going to be the Uridu Doha Marathon. So you might have had a little bit of inspiration from us to decide to do the full marathon, maybe the half like Laura or 10K like me. And if you are listening out there and you're going to do that, then well done, first of all, in making the decision to do it.
High five.
Yes. I hope you've registered, because this is the thing.
Yeah, you've got to register.
Yeah, you can get kind of sucked into all the training and forget that you actually have to register. So please go to premiermarathons.com and you can / Uridu Marathon. You can just Google it, you'll find it there.
Yeah, it comes up nice and easy. So we are going to do some special shows kind of featuring around marathons and running and training and all that kind of stuff.
Get you really motivated. And if we haven't already convinced you to run, then we will by the end of it.
So what are we talking about today?
So let's go to the very start of this. If you're just, new to this training, you're going to lace up those shoes and get out there, where to begin, right? So let's start at the basics, the feet. Best place to begin. That's what's going to carry you through this race, right? So you may already have a pair of trainers that are, those old faithfuls. Slump your feet into them, don't have to undo the laces. I do quite like them, to be honest. But, they're very comfortable. They're probably not going to be the ones you're going to run in. Just to give you an idea, Laura, do you have any clue? Those of you out there, you might call them sneakers, running shoes. You know what I'm on about. Do you have an idea of what the average distance a pair should be?
I have no idea. I would think until they just fall to pieces. That's what I'd probably do, unfortunately.
There is a sort of a varying opinion on this. A recent article in New York Times suggests that the average pair of trainers will last about 400 miles and should be replaced. However, a Nike sports spokesman, Gavin Thomas, he said a shoe's lifespan depends on the type of shoe. So lightweight or more heavily cushioned, and of course on the runner's weight and running style. Yeah. So those who are light on their feet can wear shoes longer than those who pound the ground. And those who run on soft surfaces can keep their shoes longer than obviously harder surfaces. So just bear in mind that, worn out running shoes can lead to injuries. So although they might feel comfortable to begin with, and you probably won't get those blisters from them being a little tight, you might get injuries from, them not being totally adequate to run a long distance. So, okay, Laura, have you ever replaced your pair of trainers? Probably been a little bit like, I don't want to. Yeah. And then once you start running, you feel a bounce.
Well, I knew for myself, I went to a specialised running shop to buy some trainers in the UK, and they put me on a treadmill and they filmed me running. Yeah. Because I was having some problems. I was running and my trainers were comfortable, but I was getting some pain. And they said to me, look at the way you're running. Your feet are turning in slightly. Yeah. You need a bit of an extra bridge in there. So actually, there are styles of trainers to suit your foot and your requirement.
That's right.
And it made a complete difference to the way that I run. I mean, all of a sudden the pain was gone. Yeah. No problems
and
at
that's why, we thought this show might be quite interesting. It's a bit of a hybrid show today. It's a bit of health, tech and fashion all in one. Because let's be honest, out there's some really cool trainers that you think they look really cool. I'm quite guilty of that. I am addicted to Nike free runs.
You're wearing some nice
I'm wearing some bright pink ones right now with orange. I love them. They're so comfortable. You can bend them with one hand. Bend them, they're like slippers. However, I don't actually believe they're good for running. Even though they're called free run, they're not my go-to for running on long distances or even any of my training. These are like my fashion ones. So it really depends. But like Laura said, I don't know about here, to be honest, in Doha. I've tried to research. Unfortunately, I haven't found any shop that specialises in that. I know in Britain they're quite common that you can go and have your running style assessed. But I do know, I've spoken to some people here who are really big on running, and the same two sort of names keep coming up, brand names, and that's Asics and New Balance. I don't know, I can't advocate any specific brand, but I guess it's up to the person. And I would definitely suggest, first of all, looking at your current pair of trainers. Maybe they're fine. Maybe they're brand new. You've only worn them a few times. If they're not, really think about getting a pair that you're going to run this distance in. Of course, it depends how far you're running as well. So you can shop around a little bit, get some ideas, speak to some people and see what they say. So, once you've got those new shoes, you've really got to break them in. It's that kind of thing like, I don't want to, but I have to. Try walking in them for a little bit first. and then once you really feel you've broken them in, then you can start training, because they are going to be the shoes you're going to run in on the day. You do not want to put on a brand new pair of trainers the day of the race.
That's the worst decision you could do.
Absolutely not. So what else do you associate with running and trainers and with your feet?
Blisters, unfortunately. As you get into distance, it's just that continuous grind, really.
Absolutely. A potential irritant of any sort of long distance running, a lot of said is right, it's blisters. These are the kind of things that something so minuscule as a blister can absolutely hinder a proper run or a race. So it's really important that every single one of you who are thinking about doing this, buy a pair of blister socks. You can get these in Go Sport. You can get, I think they're about 50 reals normally. You can get more expensive ones as well. I actually, when I've done longer distances before, have worn 2 pairs.
Oh, wow.
So it really cushions your feet against that, constant irritation over that distance. So think about them.
So that's your feet then. That's kind of everything looked after for your tootsies.
Yes.
What about the rest of the gear?
Absolutely. So, those feet are going to carry you through that race. So, but, you might also want to look quite fly as well when you're flying on by, right? I'm really one for this. I like to look good when I'm exercising and running. So, you're looking at kind of what's on trend just now. Believe it or not, fashion isn't just about, red carpet events and movie premieres. You can look really stylish when you exercise, and I won't go into it too much, but there's some really cool options out there at the moment. Nike are one of my go-to favourites. Yeah. They're always on trend with their colours, their schemes, but one of the great things about when you're running is Nike have a range called Dry Fit. I'm sure you've probably all heard of this. Dry Fit range is, really fantastic for running in all sort of climates. So looking at our weather here in Doha, race day is January 10th, so it could be probably a beautiful day, maybe 20 degrees, 21, something like that. That's still quite warm, We won't have humidity, thankfully, because that's one of the biggest problems when you run is to have humidity. But still, you want to have something that gives you ventilation. It doesn't chafe. It isn't too hot. You don't feel too cold. So you want to find your own style of what suits you. For me, I like to wear sort of I do like to run in shorts and like a vest, but probably in January I'd start to be a little bit cold to begin with. Of course, you would heat up when you're running. Yeah. So it's really important to feel not only comfortable when you're running, but also that the products you're buying, you're getting value for money. I think there's a lot of brands out there that are very expensive. Yeah. But Nike Dry Fit is certainly one that I think that's probably
fairly competitive
quite
price,
competitive, yeah. And obviously my job dictates, I live in this stuff. Yeah. So, I literally live in sports gear all day long. It's not a bad uniform to have. It's quite comfortable. So please, believe me when I say that Nike Dry Fit is great. It's actually made from engineered fabric that helps to maintain an athlete's or, a human's optimal body temperature. So the range is constructed to reduce irritation caused by chafing, so runners focus on their run, not their clothing. Yeah. And that is very important, because you might think, I've done 5K, I've done 10K. But once you're starting to get 15, 20K, you can have serious chafing under your armpits, the shorts kind of area. Yeah. Just you make sure you have something that is comfortable, it's breathable, and most importantly, you do not overheat wearing something, because that's really quite serious. And Nike have really invested a lot of money and time into research of this popular range. So their technology is well recognised in the sports industry, and that's kind of why they're a favourite of mine as well. I really do believe that they're pretty good to wear. There are some really nice, I have Nike running pants that, long trousers that have a little tiny pocket. So for long distances, you can actually sneak in there a couple of little gummy bear Haribo snacks, which will give you a little boost of glycogen whilst you're running.
Picnic on a run.
What's in my pocket? A key? No, Haribos. Ready? Here's some. But it's a tiny little pocket that's just about the right size for a key if you're just going to run on your own, for example. Where are you going to put your house key? Yeah. Or if, you're going a little bit longer, you might need a little gel pack or a Haribo just to give you a little boost. So these little things have been thought about by Nike. They have. Speaking about little pockets and little things like that, you've also got, of course, the gadgets. Now, Laura's just invested herself in.
I'm blinged up with gadgets as we speak.
She has.
I'm wearing it all.
So tell us a little bit about the watch that you bought then.
Yeah, so because of the running, I bought myself kind of a special Garmin, running watch, and there are loads of options. I did take quite a bit of time trying to pick one because they can be really expensive. Yeah. Some can be, really, really pricey. And I came up for a mid-range one. And it was really just about, for me, what I wanted for my run. So for me, most importantly, was speed and distance. Really, that's the key thing. And then also perhaps the option of heart rate, just to know what my heart rate was doing. So it kind of does all of those things. It also tells you, alerts you when you're going a certain speed that you may be classed
maybe your pace.
Too slow, too fast, or stuff like, how many calories you burn and how long you've been going for, the time in general. So it's a pretty cool gadget.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I'm sure Dave, our technology contributor, could sort of talk about this all day. There's so many gadgets for different things. We've spoken at length about the Fitbit, as has Dave. Fitbit's different. It's tracking your activity levels on a regular day. When you're getting to do more intensive training like Laura's doing, you absolutely need something that's specific for that. So, a runner's sort of watch that can include a heart rate monitor is really good. She's mentioned hers is by Garmin, so it tracks with GPS system. Polar are also one of those really good ones out there that have, again, pace setting, distance covered, calories burned, what your average pace strike is. It can get quite complicated, but I think one of the main reasons that you probably bought this, would I be right in saying, is so for your training, but also on the day, right? So kind of how you're doing.
A good idea, because also it means that if I go for a run outside now, I can park at the Corniche anywhere I can find a parking spot without having to think I need to start at the museum.
That's true.
So it just means it gives me some flexibility in where I start, and it just means that I can keep going until I look at it and go, I know I've done what I need to do today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does encourage you. And on the actual day, there probably isn't going to be many time markers, I wouldn't think. So where did you buy that?
I just actually bought mine online, I have to say. But there are various, I have seen them in shops.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I think here, Go Sport, there's a bigger one now open in Villaggio than was there before. And they do stock like the Fitbit that we've spoken about. I think Virgin as well. You can get a lot of these sort of little gadgets there. I mean, something else that I always think about when it comes to running is, for me, I absolutely have to have earphones in, world out. I have to have music to run. In fact, it's been proven, I spoke about this before in the show, that people who have been recorded running with music, and certainly certain types of music, they have increased their pace. It's pushed them further. We've all had that, right?
Yeah.
We've had some serious
the
music
Tigers going. Yes! You're winning.
You're right through to the end. Focus on that. Pretend in your head. Visualize crossing that finish line. And it does push you, right? It does. So something that's important then is to think about, what you really want in terms of an MP3 or an iPod. I don't know about Urudu, because some marathons, I'm going to say this, some marathons don't actually let you wear iPods.
That's going to be painful
MP3s.
if you've been training with these.
But, just for your training anyway, certainly, MP3 and music players definitely help. You can also get a thing called a sports armband. There's one by a company called Runner's Need, which you can get in Go Sport for 75 reals. So that will you can put in your phone on that armband, or an iPod if it's a bit of a bulkier one. So, it'll hold it firmly in place on your arm. And let's not forget as well, you've got the gadgets, you've got the gear, you've got the new shoes. Wow, you're looking really good now, right? But we can't forget about the basics.
Water.
Absolutely. Like, you're running this race, but you've got some little basic things here, like water. How do you carry water? So, Laura, how have you been carrying? Okay.
I need to actually get myself either a water bottle, something to carry, because I know I'm going to be soon needing it.
Like, you're still doing a lot of your training indoors, which I think is not a bad thing. Certainly in this country, I do a lot of running indoors, and then the odd longer one outside, because on the day you're going to be outdoors, so you need to be prepared for that. You can't do everything inside. But when you're on a treadmill, easy, the water's just in the little holder there. But when you actually have to, you try and imagine running and swiping bottles. That's what you'll have to do on the day, because you're not going to stop. So one of the best bottles I have for running outdoors it's actually just like a no-name kind of brand I got in Go Sport as well, and it's got like a handle. So
it's like the centre part of the bottle's missing, isn't it? So you can just hold on to it.
Exactly. You've probably seen people running down the Corniche with these. So it means you're running with it the whole time. It doesn't hold that much water. I think only maybe 500 mils, but it's enough to sort of wet your mouth. Just keep your palate going, because as you said, you don't want to drink too much. You will get a stitch, and we're going to speak about that in a couple of shows' time, what stitches are and how to prevent them, and they are preventable, by the way. So do think about that. And also, if you are training outside, and of course in the day, very, very important, sunscreen, a cap perhaps, and if you want to really look the full deal, wear some sunshades as well, and then you look like just amazing. So you can look super fly now. So that's some advice for you guys today. A little bit different, but I hope you've enjoyed that information.
Kitted out and booted. I'm
Absolutely.
Gonna pick up.
Let's all go on a shopping spree.
Any excuse. You also will be joining me on fashion at some stage in the future to talk about sports, some of this kind of sports looks.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Adidas and all the rest of it. So we're going to have a chat. But thank you so much today, and we'll catch up with you on Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday. We're going to talk about fueling your run with the right food.
Carbolicious.
Yes. See you then.
See you then.